Hello and welcome. You're watching Grace Power. My name is Mohammed Saleh. And on the show today, Zohran Mamdani has scripted history as he becomes the first man of South Asian heritage to be elected as the mayor of the American city of dreams, New York. Now, invoking Jawaharlal Nehru's speech of tryst with destiny, Mamdani has said that this is a moment when New York will step from the old to the new. And in India, Rahul Gandhi has put forth some pretty explosive allegations that the Bharatiya Janata Party and the Election Commission of India rigged elections through voting discrepancies. But let's of course start with this big story from the United States of America and what is clearly one of the biggest upsets in modern American politics. The Democrat 34-year-old Zohran Mamdani has become the mayor of New York City, capping a meteoric rise from an anonymous state lawmaker to one of the country's most visible democratic figures. The victory makes Zohran Mamdani the first Muslim and the first person of South Asian descent to serve as the city's mayor. At the age of just 34, Zohran Mamdani is also the youngest person to run the City Hall in over a century. Now, Mamdani in fact described the historic victory as having toppled a political dynasty and told the crowd of supporters that the win signified that hope is alive.
My friends, we have toppled a political dynasty. I wish Andrew Cuomo only the best in private life. But let tonight be the final time I utter his name as we turn the page on a politics that abandons the many and answers only to the few.
Now, Mamdani also had some pretty strong words for the American President Donald Trump, who has called him a Jew hater on election day. The mayor-elect, of course, hit back saying that he has 4 words for the American president, and that is, turn the volume up.
So, Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you. Turn the volume up.
The Democrat called New York City as the city of immigrants, built by immigrants and now led by an immigrant. Mamdani also quoted the former Indian Prime Minister, the first Prime Minister of India, Jawaharlal Nehru, and his very lyrical speech of tryst with destiny that he gave at the time that India had achieved independence on the 15th of August in 1947. And this is what he had said: "Today we are stepping from the old to the new."
Standing before you, I think of the words of Jawaharlal Nehru. A moment comes but rarely in history when we step out from the old to the new, when an age ends and when the soul of a nation long suppressed finds utterance. Tonight we have stepped out from the old into the new.
Now, Mamdani ran his mayoral campaign on the promise of tackling the soaring cost of living in New York, to expand free public transport and to launch city-run grocery stores. In effect, his entire campaign centered around make New York affordable again. Now, the 34-year-old defeated the former governor, Andrew Cuomo, and the Republican Curtis Sliver. So as Mamdani made his victory speech, Trump took to Truth Social and wrote, "And so it begins." The American president has, of course, been hitting out at Mamdani over and over again. Now, since the 34-year-old won the Democrat ticket for the mayoral race. Now, Trump had even threatened to cut federal spending to the city of New York, and on polling day, he urged the Jewish voters not to vote for Zohran Mamdani. But the mayor-elect has said that he is not going to be intimidated by Donald Trump.
New York will remain a city of immigrants, a city built by immigrants, powered by immigrants, and as of tonight, led by an immigrant. So hear me, President Trump, when I say this. To get to any of us, you will have to get through all of us.
All right, so let's also now listen in to some of the reactions that are coming in from New York City and also the city of Mamdani's birth, that is Uganda.
I think it's great to have somebody who's close to our age. It's such a refreshing thing to see somebody who's not, a boomer or, a little bit on the older side. But, yeah, I think his policies are great. He's energetic. He's not afraid to stand up to the system and the president, and I think that's really refreshing.
So Zohran is the change that we needed to have in New York City. He is the voice of the people. He is amazing. We all believed in him, and today, now is the time to all be together.
Our biggest challenge as the youth of Uganda is unemployment. And seeing Mamdani advocating for the same, advocating to create more opportunities for the youths in the US, should now inspire our leaders back home here to create more opportunities for the youth in Uganda.
I think what the young people can pick from his story is that there's no time limit to becoming a leader and taking up these big positions. A lot of young people in Uganda sort of leave leadership to either the generation ahead of them, but now is the time for us to also step up and be part of the conversations, especially those that are going to shape the future of our country, Uganda.
All right, now joining us on the broadcast, we've got our correspondent Susan Tehrani, who's joining us live from New York. Susan, give us a sense of what the mood is like in the city of New York, which has just elected a 34-year-old individual. He happens to have scripted history by becoming a man of South Asian descent, the first one to become the mayor. What is the mood like out there, and what are the expectations that are riding on Zohran Mamdani?
Yeah, so more than 2 million people cast their ballots in this year's mayoral election, which really saw Mamdani, the 34-year-old self-proclaimed social democrat, win a landslide against Andrew Cuomo. For many of his supporters, this is a dawn of a new day. I think it was very interesting that Mamdani opened his victory speech last night with a quote from Eugene Deb, who was a socialist presidential candidate who ran 5 times from the 1900s to the 1920s. And he basically said, quoting Deb, that I can see the dawn of a better day for humanity. So this is a candidate who has not hid under the Democrat tent merely and hide his socialist aspirations. And New Yorkers, for the most part, voted for that. The young people brought him to the finish line. But when you talk to people and you talk about the mood, you talk to older New Yorkers, you see affordability, and that was one of his campaign promises, has been such a central issue here in New York that they decided to take a risk with a 34-year-old candidate. And his wife, of course, is going to be the first Gen Z who's going to be occupying Gracie Mansion, the residence of the mayor. So there is renewed hope. There is also concern by those that oppose him, notably the very wealthy here in New York that he's promised to raise taxes on. Some believe that there's going to be a mass exodus. Wall Street's going to move to Texas. These are all the things that, the rumors that have been swirling around, and New Yorkers are talking about it. But for the most part, even those that oppose him now say that they will have to end up working with him. The main question is whether or not he's going to be able to pass those lofty goals through the finish line, which is rent freezes, free buses, state-run grocery stores here in New York. He can do all of those, but he's going to need taxpayer money to do that, and he's going to need the support of the state, which the governor is Kathy Hochul, to do that. Now, whether or not the state is going to cooperate with him fully, that's going to really play into whether or not Mamdani is going to be able to deliver this vision that he's presented to New Yorkers, and for New Yorkers who are now willing to give him a chance.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Susan Tehrani, for joining us with all those updates there. All right, now staying on with more news from the United States of America, where the Democrat Party appears to be on a roll. It is having a bit of a dream run that few people expected. After scoring a big victory in New York's mayoral polls, the blue team has also swept the governor elections in the states of Virginia and New Jersey. In a historic moment for Virginia, the Democrat Abigail Spanberger has been elected as the state's first woman governor. The former congresswoman upstaged the Republican Winsome Earl Sears. She will now succeed the Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin. Now, speaking to her supporters, Governor-elect Abigail Spanberger said that it is their time to lead.
Virginia, now it is our time to lead. Tonight, it's hard not to reflect on the nearly 2-year journey that we've taken together on this campaign.
The Democrat also said that the government shutdown is adversely impacting the job market in Virginia, while urging the lawmakers and President Donald Trump to make real progress on bringing the shutdown to an end. The Democrat juggernaut also spilled on to New Jersey as well, as the state voted its second woman governor in the form of Democrat Mickey Sherrill. Now, Sherrill toppled the Trump-backed Republican candidate Jack Ciattarelli to secure the victory. Now, the naval veteran will succeed the incumbent Democrat governor, Phil Murphy. Interestingly, this will be the first time since 1961 that the one party has won 3 consecutive governor elections in New Jersey. The Democrat flag soared from coast to coast as the state of California, too, was also soaked in a sea of blue. The Californians in the state voted in favor of Proposition 50, the proposal that will now allow the Democrat lawmakers the power to redraw the state's congressional map. Now, the victory in the redistricting elections will give the Democrats an edge in California ahead of next year's midterm elections. And following the victory, California Governor Gavin Newsom celebrated the victory, saying that they stood tall against the American President Donald Trump's recklessness.
And let me underscore, it's been a good evening. We stood tall and we stood firm in response to Donald Trump's recklessness. And tonight, after poking the bear, this bear roared with an unprecedented turnout in a special election with an extraordinary result.
All right, so these are, of course, some pretty interesting trends. Remember, a lot of people have said that this has been a sort of a referendum on Donald Trump's performance in the last 10 months. Is it a reflection of Donald Trump's flagging popularity, or is the Democrat camp reading too much in these victories that it has managed to get? These are some of the crucial issues that need to be looked at. Donald Trump, of course, has said that he was not on the ballot, and therefore his MAGA followers were not enthused enough to come and vote the Republicans to put up some kind of a stark resistance. Because remember, when Donald Trump swept to victory in the presidential elections, the Democrat Party was in all kinds of trouble. Is this now the beginning of the offshoots of the Democrat resurgence? Is this what is going to help the Democrat Party to try and put up a pretty credible performance in the midterm elections? Or is the Trump MAGA wave still intact in steamrolling all the opposition that it may come up across? Have the Democrats presented an alternate view of governing the nations? These are some of the questions for which the American electorate, of course, is awaiting an answer. And also in the lead up to the midterm elections next year, there are some very interesting things that are happening. Proposition 50 in California is probably an indicator of the things to come, where California has now approved this idea of redrawing the map of the state of California to try and gain an advantage on the other party. And to tell us more in terms of what, of course, are the trends that we are looking at in terms of how this election will impact the larger American politics, we joined the broadcast by Mr. Christopher Hale, who is a Democrat strategist. He has worked with past presidents such as Barack Obama and Joe Biden at the White House while they were on the campaign trail. Mr. Hale, thank you very much indeed for joining us here on WION. Now, this is an interesting sort of a moment. The Republicans seem to have come a bit of a cropper in these elections. Democrats may not have expected that they would, of course, sweep through in the manner that they've done. But are these victories on the back of something that the Democrats have done right? Or is it simply because the Republicans, as Donald Trump has said, Trump was not in the ballot and therefore it was an easy victory for the Democrats? How do you read these victories?
Look, I think the big thing that I always look at with politics is thermostatic, especially here in the United States. When things move a little bit too conservative, the progressives start to do better. When things get a little bit too progressive, the conservatives start to do better. Donald Trump's approval ratings are quite low in the United States, and particularly on the key issues of the economy, which was his best issue during his first presidency. His numbers are quite low there. So last night's results are not unexpected. I think we talked about Virginia and we talked about New Jersey, and there's a 20-point swing in Virginia and about a 15-point swing in New Jersey. But I think the even bigger story is what happened in these local races in Georgia for Public Service Commissioner. You had Democrats win seats in rural Georgia. So that really tells me that there is deep dissatisfaction with President Trump. You asked whether or not this is a sign of the strength for the Democratic Party. I think the strength last night for the party was twofold. Number one, I think we actually ran quite good candidates, especially in those gubernatorial races. People can fight about Mr. Mamdani in New York City. Is he too progressive? Of course, it's the most democratic city really in the world. But I think they're good candidates. They're good on TV. They're good messengers. They sell themselves well. They're disciplined. And also to the thing, the second thing is that we ran candidates that really fit their districts. We had two really moderates in New Jersey and Virginia, and we had a Democratic Socialist in New York City. Right. The Democratic Party to win going forward should not just be one thing, it should be many things. And I think that was really the success of last night. We were able to be many things.
Interesting. You seem to be fairly optimistic of the results that have come up. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Christopher Hale, for joining us and getting us that perspective there.
Thank you so much.
All right, now the American government shutdown has entered into the 36th day, making the current shutdown the longest in American history. This after the US Senate again failed to pass a temporary funding bill, marking the 14th unsuccessful attempt. The shutdown has now surpassed the 35-day record that was set during Donald Trump's first term. And hours before the shutdown record toppled, the Trump administration sounded the alarm over turmoil at airports nationwide. The crisis were to drag beyond the 6th week. Now, both the Democrats and the Republicans remain politically gridlocked over health care spending. The Democrats have said that they will only provide votes to end the funding lapse after a deal has been struck to extend the expiring insurance subsidies that make health care affordable for millions of Americans. But the Republicans insist that they'll only address the health care once the Democrats have voted to end the shutdown. Now, Trump has also threatened to cut off a vital aid program that helps 42 million Americans pay for groceries for the first time in its more than 60-year history. However, the White House has later clarified that it was fully complying with its legal obligations. While the political deadlock continues, ordinary Americans are feeling the heat. 1.4 million federal workers, from air traffic controllers to park wardens, remain on enforced leave or are working without pay. Now, many fear that if the shutdown were to continue, then mass layoffs could be in the offing.
I want to say, everyone's just kind of losing hope. All the people that I know, our country is already so divided that, I don't see there ever being an agreement.
All right, so let's now get you some news from India, where the Congress leader Rahul Gandhi has put forth some pretty explosive accusations. Rahul Gandhi is accusing the Election Commission of India and the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party of conspiring together to rig elections in the state of Haryana last year. Now, during a media conference in New Delhi, Rahul Gandhi presented slides showing the discrepancies that he claims have happened in voter rolls, including a pretty striking example, which is in front of your screens. And the example is of a Brazilian model's photograph that reportedly appears again and again and again on the electoral rolls under different names, such as Seema, Sweetie, and even Saraswati. And these were all apparently used to cast ballots 22 times. This is what Rahul Gandhi has claimed. In his latest salvo, Rahul Gandhi also alleged that he had 100% proof that 2.5 million fake votes were cast in the state assembly polls as part of a very systematic manipulation to turn a Congress victory into a defeat. Now, pointing to the exit polls in the state, which had predicted victories for the Congress party, Rahul accused the Bharatiya Janata Party and the Election Commission of India of orchestrating a planned operation to subvert democracy and the electoral process in India. Further, the Congress leader has alleged that the Bharatiya Janata Party, with the backing of the Election Commission, will follow the same vote chori or vote theft playbook in the state assembly elections in Bihar as well, where voting for the first phase happens tomorrow. The Union Minister Kiran Rijiju responded to Rahul's allegations, addressing a press conference. The Union Minister replied that Rahul Gandhi's words lack gravity and that the Congress leaders themselves had admitted a fair defeat post the elections. Now, the Election Commission of India, remember, that is one of the key pillars that is being accused by Rahul Gandhi, is yet to respond to these very specific allegations. Now, in the past, Rahul Gandhi had alleged similar vote theft in the states of Maharashtra and in Karnataka elections. While the poll panel had rejected the allegations, it is yet to order a probe into these discrepancies that Rahul Gandhi claims have happened, which have changed the result in these elections. And amidst these allegations and counter-allegations, the stage, of course, is set for the crucial first phase of voting in Bihar, the fourth largest assembly in India. The ruling NDA will square off against the opposition India Alliance in 121 constituencies. Now, the high-stakes contest features familiar heavyweights Mahagathbandhan's chief ministerial face, Tejasvi Yadav, the NDA's second-in-command, Samrat Chaudhary, and Lalu Prasad's elder son, Tej Pratap Yadav, now estranged from the family and the party and contesting under his new political banner. Now, officials from 7 countries, including France, South Africa and Belgium, are set to witness the polling process in Bihar as part of the Election Commission's International Election Visitors Program. Now, at least about 14 participants from the Philippines, Thailand, Colombia and other nations attended the inaugural session of this program. The IEVP is a flagship program of the Election Commission for international cooperation and engagement with election bodies of other nations. The central themes of this electoral battle are as pressing as they are complex: unemployment, out-migration, corruption and the decline of education and healthcare that have dominated the discourse. Now, Tejasvi Yadav's pledge of one government job for every household, translating to a staggering 1.3 crore jobs over a span of 5 years, appears to have struck a chord. Now, this is in contrast to the NDA manifesto, which is promising 1 crore government jobs and aims to create 1 crore women earning at least about $1,000. And according to a report by the Association for the Democratic Reforms, Vikashsheel Insan Party candidate Ran Kaushal Pratap Singh, who's contesting, is the richest candidate in the second phase of the Bihar election, declaring assets worth over 360 crores, making him the richest candidate in the fray. And without its wrap of this edition of Race to Power, thanks for watching.
WION Health Resort is unique, the only one of its kind. Experience the 4 paths of natural wellness: yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy. Each uniquely customized program improves the whole person to make every person whole. Come to WION Health Resort. Make your reservation at WION.com.